Hello everyone, my name is Paul. I work for a company called Micrographics in Cape Town, South Africa, and we are an Autodesk partner. I've been delving deeper into Civil 3D recently, specifically looking at the settings that we have within our files and how they relate to each other. So just as a quick intro, we've got at this stage just one drawing open. I could have more than one drawing open. If I look at that at the master view, then I would be able to see more than one drawing. In any case, this is what is known as the drawing level. So I'd like to introduce this in terms of levels and just show you how they relate to each other. It's quite confusing when you first come to settings, so hopefully this makes it easy. You've got the drawing level. It's the highest level of settings that you can have, and if you right click and you say edit drawing settings, which is the typical that you can do, then you will see that it's got this units and zone transformation object layer abbreviations. Those are just settings that are not applicable everywhere else. But then you get the ambient settings. And the ambient settings are your sort of general settings that you have. For instance, here you can see plotted unit display type is set to decimal. That's the value. And then they've got an override, which is currently blank, and then they've got a child override, which is also blank, and then they've got lock. All right, so none of this is set. It's just a value that has been applied to the plotted unit display type. Then when we expand the drawing, we get to our what they call object level. So general point surface parcel, that's the object level properties. You'll see that as edit feature. It's also called feature, object or feature level. And if you look under the general settings there, you'll see exactly the same. There you can see that we've got the save command settings. And this is now set to a value of, the plotted unit display type decimal. And it's not overridden. Okay, and the child override and so on. Look what happens. So remember, this is decimal. Compare that to the drawing level. There you can see it's decimal. Under the ambient settings, that's set to decimal. All right. So by default, the object level is then also decimal. That's what it is by default. Now, you can switch it out into, say, fractional. And then immediately it shows you that it's got an override that's been applied to it. Notice what happens when you uncheck the checkbox to fractional. It then changes back to decimal. You can also check the checkbox at any time and uncheck it. But the only function for this is, if you had overridden it, you can restore it to its default. That's what this checkbox really means. That's its purpose. So it's quite easy to understand that. If you've overwritten the drawing level to some other level, it tells you that it's overridden, and you can reset that to its default. That's what this means. Okay, and now look what happens if I edit the drawing level settings again and I lock that setting. There we can see I can lock that setting. Then it will gray out on the object level that setting so that I can't alter that. You can see it's locked, it's grayed out, I can't override it. That's what the lock means. So it gives you some level of control over your drawing to say, well, whenever you're in the general, okay, and then you can see plotted unit display type. If you unlock that, then you've got more control on the object layers, object levels below that. It is hierarchical. So the drawing takes precedence over the object level, and then we've got what they call the command level. So this is now where you have your actual commands, right? And on any one of these commands, if you edit the command settings, then you've also got these general settings there. Again, unit display type available for you. You can lock it or not. All right. So you do have quite a lot going on, but in general, this is how your drawing ambient settings, your object level, and your command level settings work. But that's not all there is. You can also have a look at things like, for argument's sake, your surface feature settings, which include things that are specific to surfaces, which are surface defaults. But you won't find surface defaults within your general settings because they're not applicable to surfaces. So each object level has their own properties that are applicable to that object level, but then they also have some properties that are inherited from previous or from a higher hierarchy. So that's just something to notice. And then with regards to labels, I just wanted to highlight this for you. This confused me a bit. If you look at the surface, let's go to the one that I used recently was with the parcels. If you look at the label styles under parcels, it's quite often, and I'm using this example because most of you would be able to relate to that, it's quite often that you have these labels for parcel styles. On some of them you want to see the bearing and distance and the arc and the radius and so on and whatever, just to describe the parcel boundaries that you're dealing with. And then in other instances you want to just list it in a table as L1, L2, L3, and so you'll see that you've got these child label styles that it creates for you. So these are known as children. Those are known as children. And then you also have under the general label styles. But the big thing is, if you look at the line labels here, don't confuse the names. So the fact that you've got something that says bearing only, compare that to bearing only. Don't think that they have anything to do with each other because they are in the same hierarchy level. Okay? So these are just general labels that are applicable to lines. So they have no impact on, say, your parcel labels over there. And so where this starts off is, say, for instance, with the feature settings, there you can see your labeling prompt method, and if we look at the line, sorry, it's one down from there. There's the label styles. Expand the label styles. We've got our line here on the line label styles. Now you can see how the label, say the behavior, there's the label settings, style, text, behavior, plan readability, components, leader, drag state. And on some of them you can see that there are child overrides. Okay, and those child overrides might come in a level below that. So if you look at the text components here, for instance, it is 2.54 millimeters. And it says one of the children is overridden. So that's 2.54. Right, and if we expand that line and we have a look at these, and the text component, the text style is standard. There's the 2.54 text height, right, under there. And so you'll find on some of these that might be different. So there's a child. Editing that, that's also 2.54. So one of these won't be 2.54. That's also 2.54. Alright, so if we look at the bearing over distance, there we can see that the bearing over distance has a height of 2. There's the text height of 2. Now in essence, when we then go back to the line edit label style defaults, we can say override the layer text height. And we can do that and say, well, this will make, sorry, did I apply that? I just want to make sure that I'm applying that. My apologies. 2.54. Yeah, it's cleared the child overrides. Okay, so let's just see the effect of that. There's our bearing over distance. And then we can see that the text height is now 2.54 millimeters. So those child overrides, it's just where you can then enforce whatever you want on the children label style. So it's more often in situations like that that you'll see, at least in my experience, that you have these child label styles that you can then override with the text height. So that's in essence the way that the settings within Civil 3D for the drawing level, the object or feature level, command level, and then of course also within things like your labels where your child overrides become more important. In the other ones you have overrides and locks, but when it comes to the labels you quite often have these child overrides as well. I hope that might have helped you to understand labeling or settings within and styles within Civil 3D a little bit better. And until next time, enjoy Civil 3D. Bye now.